Once you talk to yourself like God, reality stops feeling like a struggle and starts moving in your favor. Within the language of God lies the forgotten secret that your inner conversations are shaping every experience you live. Stop speaking like a human reacting to life, and start speaking like the force that creates it. The language of God. Introduction. You are not merely a vessel receiving wisdom, but the very source of creation itself. Every whispered thought, every silent declaration within your inner sanctuary reverberates through the cosmic tapestry of existence. Your words are not simple sounds. They are vibrational commands that shape reality. Consider how your internal dialogue constructs the landscape of your experience. When you speak to yourself with limitation, you inscribe boundaries. When you speak with expansive certainty, you dissolve constraints. This is not metaphor. This is the fundamental mechanism of universal law. Your inner language is a sacred transmission. Each thought is a prayer, each utterance an invocation. The universe does not distinguish between your desperate pleas and your confident declarations. It simply responds to the energetic frequency of your being. You are continuously broadcasting, and reality is your perfect receiver. What you repeatedly tell yourself becomes the blueprint of your manifest experience. Doubt whispers restriction. Certainty thunders possibility. The divine within you does not negotiate with fear. It simply knows. When you align your inner speech with the language of creation, miraculous transformation becomes not an aspiration, but an inevitability. This is not about positive thinking. This is about truthful being. You are not attempting to manipulate reality, but to remember your intrinsic creative power. The law of attraction is not a technique to acquire. It is a natural principle you are already executing with every breath. Your words are seeds. Some germinate shadows, others bloom light. Choose consciously. Speak internally as the infinite being you truly are. Not as a limited human hoping for grace, but as grace itself expressing through human experience. Some of what I share in these readings touches metaphysical laws that cannot be fully revealed in a single video. If you are ready for the deeper current, the knowledge reserved for those who truly seek, I've placed it inside our free newsletter, The Hidden Collection. Subscribe now, and you'll also receive a free copy of the Kybalion, the ancient text where these metaphysical laws were first written down, available for a limited time only. Part 1. The Remembering. Chapter 1. The Voice That Builds Worlds. In a small cottage nestled between whispering pines, little Eloise Cranberry stood before her mirror, watching her reflection with curious eyes. She was learning something extraordinary, that the words spoken in the quiet chambers of her heart held a magic far more potent than mere sound. Some mornings, when Eloise would murmur gentle affirmations, "I am brave, I am loved," her day would unfold like a graceful dance. Sunlight seemed to follow her, challenges dissolved effortlessly, and her spirit danced with an inner radiance. Other days, when doubt crept into her whispers, "I'm not good enough. Nothing ever works out," the world would turn gray, obstacles would multiply, and her spirit would shrink. You are witnessing the profound truth of inner language. Your words are not simply sounds floating into empty space. They are the raw material from which your life forms itself. Each utterance carries a vibration, a frequency that resonates through the invisible fabric of existence. When you speak with divine confidence, you are not merely hoping, you are creating. Imagine your words as seeds planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. Some seeds grow thorny brambles of limitation, while others bloom into expansive gardens of possibility. The choice of seed, the tone, the belief, the underlying energy, determines the landscape of your experience. The universe does not comprehend your wishes or wants. It understands only your vibration. When you speak with uncertainty, it reflects uncertainty. When you declare with unwavering certainty, it responds with miraculous alignment. Your inner speech is a sacred dialogue, a creative act of continuous manifestation. Later, Nolan Whitaker would learn this lesson profoundly. Trapped in a cycle of financial struggle, he discovered that his constant complaints about scarcity were not descriptions of his reality. They were invocations of more lack. Only when he began to speak gently to his soul, blessing his current state and affirming abundance, did prosperity begin to flow. The divine never begs. The divine declares, and you are that divine essence, expressing itself through human experience. Practice. Let your internal monologue sound like gratitude already fulfilled. Observe each phrase as a seed waiting to bloom. Replace every self-criticism with language that affirms your divine authorship. Speak to yourself as the infinite being you truly are, not a fragile human hoping for grace, but grace itself expressing through your momentary human experience. Chapter 2. The Reality of Thought Spoken Aloud. In the quiet corners of her modest home, Rosie Farnsworth discovered a truth that would forever alter her relationship with healing. For years, she had spoken about her fragile health with the same defeated tone one might use to describe an inevitable storm. "I'm always tired," she would whisper to herself. "My body never cooperates." And indeed, her body listened with remarkable precision, manifesting exactly what she declared. The universe is not a distant, disconnected force. It is a responsive field of energy that vibrates in perfect harmony with your internal dialogue. Your words are not mere sounds. They are creative commands that shape the very fabric of your existence. When Rosie began to understand this sacred principle, she realized her health was not a condition to be endured, but a reality to be spoken into being. Each utterance carries a vibrational frequency that ripples through the unseen realms, organizing energy into form. Your consistent language is a prayer in constant motion, instructing the infinite intelligence that surrounds you. The words you repeat become the blueprint from which your physical experience constructs itself. Clyde Merriweather witnessed this principle in his own journey. Battling chronic fatigue, he began to speak differently. Instead of describing his exhaustion, he would declare, "My body is vibrant. My energy is boundless." At first, the words felt like a performance, but slowly something remarkable happened. His laughter grew more genuine. His movements became lighter. The very sound of his voice began to reshape his physical experience. This is not magical thinking. This is the fundamental law of creation. What you utter is not a wish floating into empty space, but a precise instruction that energy follows with unwavering loyalty. Your spoken word is a sculptor, your belief the chisel that carves reality into its most magnificent expression. Practice. Speak to yourself aloud with words that assume wholeness. Stand before a mirror and declare your vitality. Do not wait for proof. Allow your tone to summon the very experience you desire. Speak as though your wellness is already present, your words like sunlight consistently warming fertile soil. Say, I am whole, I am healing, my body responds to love. Repeat these words with gentle conviction, feeling each syllable as a gentle caress of restoration. Chapter 3. The Echo of I Am. You stand at the threshold of transformation, where every utterance carries the power to reshape your entire existence. The words I am are not mere sounds, but sacred invocations that summon universes into being. Clara Prescott's mornings were a testament to the unconscious magic of language. Each dawn, she would exhale her weariness, declaring, I am so tired, unaware that the universe listened with absolute fidelity. Her words were not descriptions, but commands, precise instructions for her reality to manifest exhaustion. The great mind reveals a fundamental truth. I am represents the most potent creative statement in existence. These two words are not descriptive, but generative. They are not reflections of current circumstances, but the blueprints through which circumstances are constructed. When you speak, I am, you are not reporting, you are creating. Imagine your words as living energies, each syllable a brushstroke painting the canvas of your experience. Every time you prefix a statement with I am, you are signing a cosmic contract with reality itself. The universe does not distinguish between your intention and your declaration. It simply obeys. Jonah Chamberlain understood this principle intimately. Where once he proclaimed, I am unlucky, he consciously replaced that narrative with, I am divinely guided. The shift was subtle yet monumental. Synchronicities began appearing like constellations, unexpected connections, fortuitous meetings, opportunities that seemed to materialize from thin air. This is not mere positive thinking. This is conscious creation. Your I am statements are the language of the divine expressing itself through you. They are not wishes or hopes, but fundamental declarations of being. Practice, ritual. Find a quiet space where you can speak without reservation. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Then whisper with absolute conviction statements beginning with I am. I am strength. I am love. I am healing. I am abundance. I am possibility. Speak each phrase as though the universe is waiting to sculpt itself around your words. Feel the vibration of each declaration resonate through your body. Notice how quickly your inner landscape begins to shift, how your breath becomes more expansive, how your posture changes. Your I am is the signature of the divine within you, writing destiny with each utterance. Chapter 4. The Garden of Thought Forms. Your words are living waters cascading through the landscape of your existence. Just as Hazel Lovelace discovered, the garden of your life responds to the language you speak over it, whether spoken aloud or whispered in the chambers of your inner world. Hazel's garden had become a testament to her inner dialogue. For years she would walk among her withering plants, muttering phrases of disappointment. Nothing ever grows here. This soil is hopeless. I can't seem to keep anything alive. Her plants listened. They absorbed each syllable of doubt, wilting under the weight of her words. But something shifted when Hazel began to understand the sacred power of her speech. She started speaking to her garden as if it were a beloved friend. "You are strong," she would say, touching a drooping leaf. "You have everything you need to flourish." She would stand among her plants, her voice soft but firm, blessing each stem and root with words of life and potential. The transformation was not instantaneous, but gradual and miraculous. Flowers that had once hung limp began to lift their heads. Leaves that were yellowed and brittle started to green and soften. Her garden was listening, drinking in her words of affirmation and hope. Dwayne Barnett's story echoed a similar revelation. A man once known for his cynical outlook, he had watched project after project collapse under the weight of his critical language. "This will never work," he would mutter. "I'm always going to fail." And fail he did, with predictable consistency. But when Dwayne learned to bless his endeavors instead of cursing them, everything changed. He began speaking to his work with reverence. "This project is guided by intelligence greater than my limitations. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth." His tone shifted from complaint to celebration, and his projects began to align with his newfound language of possibility. The universe does not distinguish between your declarations of limitation and your proclamations of potential. It simply echoes back the frequency you broadcast. Your environments, whether gardens, relationships, or professional landscapes, are living reflections of your inner dialogue. Practice nurturing your thought garden. Imagine each thought as a delicate sprout emerging from rich, dark soil. Some thoughts are weeds of doubt, some are seeds of possibility. Your words are the water, the sunlight, the nurturing touch. Select 3 areas of your life where you typically use critical or limiting language. For each area, craft 3 blessing statements. Speak these statements aloud daily, as if you are tending a sacred garden. Speak to your projects, your body, your relationships with the tender care of a master gardener who knows that every whispered word of compassion is a drop of life-giving water. Chapter 5. The Frequency of Certainty. The whispers of the universe often arrive as quiet revelations, waiting for those willing to listen. You stand at the threshold of understanding how your inner dialogue shapes the landscape of your existence, much like a gardener whose words can nurture or wither the most delicate of seeds. Millie Cavanaugh knew fear as an old companion, a persistent shadow that had followed her through years of hesitation and self-doubt. Her life had been a careful dance of avoidance, each step measured by the weight of potential failure. But on one extraordinary morning, something within her shifted, a subtle yet profound transformation that would rewrite her entire narrative. "All directions lead to my good," she spoke aloud, her voice steady and sure. The words hung in the air, charged with an unexpected certainty. In that moment, something miraculous occurred. Her fear began to dissolve, not gradually, but with the swiftness of morning mist burning away under bright sunlight. The universal law revealed itself through her declaration. Divine speech carries an inherent power of absolute certainty. When you speak without wavering, without the trembling uncertainty that often accompanies human doubt, you create a vibrational frequency that the universe cannot help but answer. Hesitation is the great manifestation killer. It introduces pause where momentum should flow. Gus Abernathy's story echoed this truth. Facing a crossroads of uncertainty, he chose to affirm guidance rather than succumb to confusion. "I am divinely directed," he would tell himself, not as a wishful prayer, but as an unshakable statement of truth. Opportunities began to appear, seemingly from nowhere, precisely aligned with his inner conviction. The interpretation is clear. Your language is not merely a description of reality, but the very instrument through which reality takes shape. When you speak with the authority of the divine, without pleading, without doubt, you become the architect of your own unfolding story. This is not about magical thinking, but about understanding the profound connection between your inner dialogue and the external world. Each word you utter is a creative force, each declaration a brushstroke on the canvas of your experience. Practice speaking inner certainties out loud as if destiny already nodded yes, relaxing into each word until confidence hums through every cell like a quiet miracle. Chapter 6. The Divine Tone Within Silence. You have been listening for guidance, searching for divine direction in the clamor of thoughts and external noise. But true wisdom whispers from the quiet spaces between your breaths, from the silent realm where creation breathes before manifestation. Phoebe Winthrop understood this truth intimately. Each morning she would sit in her sunlit alcove, hands folded, breath soft, waiting. Not waiting in desperation, but in expectant stillness, a receptive vessel for universal intelligence. The universe communicates not through thunderous proclamations, but through subtle vibrations. Your thoughts are like radio frequencies, and silence is the tuning mechanism. When you quiet the mind, you align with a higher resonance, the frequency of pure potential. Lionel Pritchard discovered this principle through an unexpected journey. A businessman consumed by stress and constant motion, he initially believed productivity meant perpetual action. Yet, when forced by an unexpected illness to slow down, he learned the transformative power of inner silence. During his recovery, Lionel began practicing stillness, not as a passive state, but as an active attunement. He would sit and simply breathe, allowing tranquility to settle into his cells. Gradually, the chaos surrounding him, demanding clients, complex projects, familial tensions, began to reorganize itself. The outer world is a reflection of your inner landscape. When you cultivate peace within, external circumstances cannot help but harmonize. This is not magical thinking, but the fundamental law of resonance. Your vibration speaks louder than words, broadcasting a frequency that restructures reality. Divine communication happens first in feeling, then in thought, and lastly in language. You are constantly being guided, but most miss the subtle nudges, because they are listening with their minds instead of sensing with their entire being. Silence is not empty. It is pregnant with possibility. In the quiet moments, you are closest to the source of creation, where all potential exists simultaneously. Here, before thought crystallizes into form, you have the power to shape your experience. Practice pausing between thoughts to sense the resonance of peace, letting silence pronounce your well-being long before language shapes it into sound. Chapter 7. The Agreement of Light. In the quiet depths of your inner landscape, there lies a power more potent than argument, a language of pure acceptance that transforms resistance into grace. You have been taught to fight, to push against the currents of life, believing that struggle is the path to transformation. But what if surrender is your truest strength? Sadie Whitcomb knew this battle well. Her days were a constant battlefield of internal negotiations, her mind a war room where circumstances were interrogated, challenged, and ultimately condemned. Each morning she would wake and inventory her complaints. The job that didn't appreciate her, the relationships that felt constraining, the dreams that seemed perpetually out of reach. Until one luminous moment she discovered that arguing with life was like attempting to reshape water with clenched fists. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, does not respond to force. It responds to alignment. When you argue with your current reality, you bind yourself to the very condition you wish to change. Your resistance becomes a wall, blocking the very energy of transformation. Each complaint is an anchor, each criticism a chain that keeps you tethered to the very experience you seek to escape. The divine language of acceptance is not passive submission, but active cooperation. It is a radical statement of trust, a recognition that the intelligence organizing your universe is far more sophisticated than your limited perspective. Finnegan Dorsey embodied this principle with remarkable grace. Where others saw obstacles, he saw opportunities. When challenges arose, instead of mounting a defensive strategy, he would softly affirm, "All is working for me." This was not naive optimism, but a profound understanding that the universe responds to your fundamental tone. His internal agreement created a magnetic field of possibility. Troubles that once seemed insurmountable began to dissolve, not through struggle, but through a gentle, persistent alignment with good. The moment he stopped fighting and started agreeing, life's energy began to flow through him with unprecedented ease. This is the secret of divine agreement. It multiplies favor. When you learn to say yes to life, not with resignation, but with an open heart, you become a conduit for miraculous transformation. Practice mentally agreeing with light by affirming unity with good, allowing your heart to soften into faith until peace becomes your language of choice. Chapter 8. The Command of Joy. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Audrey Delaney discovered a truth that would transform her understanding of existence. Where once she had approached life as a series of challenges to endure, she now recognized joy as a powerful creative force, not a response to circumstances, but the very instruction that shapes reality itself. The universe whispers its greatest secrets to those who listen with a heart attuned to delight. Your inner landscape is not a battlefield to be conquered, but a garden to be cultivated with the most potent energy known, joy. When you speak from a place of genuine happiness, you are not merely reacting to the world, you are commanding it. Imagine joy as a language more fundamental than words. It is the vibration that precedes manifestation, the frequency that instructs atoms to dance into form. Your cells are listening, always listening, to the tone of your inner dialogue. They do not understand struggle or complaint. They respond only to the clear, resonant signal of happiness. Lawrence O'Malley understood this principle intimately. Once trapped in a cycle of perpetual frustration, he began to intentionally cultivate joy, not as a forced performance, but as a genuine reconnection with the lightness of being. He discovered that when he spoke to himself and his circumstances with genuine delight, the world around him began to shift. The interpretation is profound, yet simple. Laughter is a divine decree. When you laugh, truly laugh, from the depths of your being, you are issuing a command to the universe. You are saying, "This is how I choose to experience life." Your joy becomes an instruction manual for reality, telling atoms and energies how to organize themselves. This is not about toxic positivity or denying challenges. It is about recognizing your fundamental creative power. Joy is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of creative potential. It is the understanding that you can meet any moment with the energy of possibility, with the knowledge that your inner state is more powerful than external circumstances. Your happiness is not a luxury. It is a spiritual technology. It is the most sophisticated tool you possess for transforming your experience. When you speak with joy, you are not merely hoping or wishing, you are commanding. You are aligning yourself with the creative principle of the universe. Practice speaking with smiles, training cells to respond as servants of happiness, until you discover reality listens best when the voice carries joy's rhythm. Chapter 9. The Authority of Compassion. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Beatrice Holloway had long been a prisoner of her own sorrowful narrative. Her words were chains, each syllable of self-pity another link binding her to a reality of limitation and pain. She would whisper to her reflection, "Nothing ever goes right for me," and the universe, ever obedient, would arrange circumstances to confirm her bleak prophecy. But something shifted the day she understood that her words were not merely sounds, but commands, potent instructions that shaped the very fabric of her existence. The moment of awakening came not through grand revelation, but through a subtle recognition. Every time she spoke of her struggles, she was actually instructing her life to remain struggling. Your inner dialogue is the blueprint of your reality. When you speak from a place of victimhood, you consecrate powerlessness. But when you speak from the authority of compassion, not as a weak consolation, but as a powerful healing force, you invoke transformation. Consider Travis Pennington, who discovered this profound truth. When faced with criticism that once would have crushed his spirit, he learned to bless those who spoke against him. Instead of defending, justifying, or retaliating, he would internally respond with, "May you find peace. May you be understood. May your heart be free." This was not passive acceptance, but active spiritual alchemy. By refusing to engage with negativity on its own terms, Travis transmuted potential conflict into an opportunity for growth. His critics, expecting resistance, found themselves disarmed by his compassionate response. Gradually, the very environments that once seemed hostile began to reflect the grace he consistently projected. The universe responds not to your complaints, but to the vibration of your inner speech. Compassion is not soft. It is a forceful energy of healing and restoration. When you speak from this place, you are not asking for permission to be whole. You are declaring your wholeness as an immutable truth. Your words are sacred utterances. They are not mere sounds dispersing into silence, but living energies that reorganize reality. Every time you choose to speak with compassion, first to yourself, then to others, you are engaging in a profound act of creation. The interpretation is clear. Love, when spoken with conviction, is not a request. It is law. It restructures, realigns, and regenerates whatever it touches. Practice addressing yourself and others in the language of compassion's strength. allowing kindness to sound like certainty that goodness always prevails. Chapter 10. The Mirror of Listening. In the soft morning light, Dottie Flannery discovered something profound about prayer, a truth that had eluded her for decades. Her prayers had always been a torrent of words, a relentless cascade of requests and demands hurled toward the heavens. Yet in all her speaking, she had never truly listened. The universe whispers, but it does not shout. It communicates through subtle vibrations, through the quiet spaces between thoughts, through the gentle nudges of intuition that most souls overlook. Dottie had been so consumed with her own voice that she had forgotten the sacred art of receiving. Her transformation began not with a grand revelation, but with a moment of unexpected stillness. She noticed how her continuous talking, both to the divine and to herself, created a wall of noise that blocked any potential response. Every prayer was a monologue, never a dialogue. The spiritual core of this lesson reveals that true communication transcends words. Receptivity is not weakness. It is the most powerful form of divine engagement. When you pause and create space for listening, you open channels of guidance more precise than any intellectual reasoning. Hugo Merriman's journey illuminated this principle beautifully. A former corporate strategist accustomed to controlling every outcome, he began practicing deep listening. At first, it felt uncomfortable, like sitting in silence when everyone else was speaking. But gradually, he discovered something extraordinary. His intuitive guidance began to speak, not in grand proclamations, but in quiet, mathematical precision. Insights would arrive fully formed, solutions would emerge without struggle, and his decisions became infused with a clarity that defied logical explanation. The interpretation is clear. God language is not just about speaking, but about creating a sacred space of receptive silence. Before every response, there must be a profound listening. Your divine mind knows infinitely more than your limited consciousness can comprehend. This listening is an active state, not passive waiting, but a dynamic openness. It requires releasing the need to control, to understand immediately, to fill every moment with noise. True wisdom arrives when you create the spaciousness for it to emerge. You are not just a speaker in the universe's grand conversation. You are also a receiver. Your ability to listen determines the quality of guidance you can access. When you merge listening with creation, you transform from a demander of miracles to a channel of divine intelligence. Practice pausing mid-thought and asking your divine mind to reveal its quiet wisdom. Then respond from clarity instead of reaction, merging listening with creation. Beneath every teaching on this channel runs a deeper metaphysical current, the unseen laws that shape reality itself. For those whose awareness is ready to receive it, I've gathered the deeper layer inside our free newsletter, The Hidden Collection. Join now and you'll also receive a free copy of the Kybalion, the original text that revealed these metaphysical laws to the world. Limited time only. Part 2. The Reclaiming. Chapter 11. The Word That Heals. In the quiet corners of her healing journey, Ivy Dandridge discovered a language that transformed pain into possibility. Her body had long been a landscape of unspoken sorrows, carrying whispers of past hurts like ancient shadows. But something shifted when she began to speak to her pain not as an enemy, but as a misunderstood companion yearning for understanding. Each morning, Ivy would sit before her reflection, her hands gently resting on her heart, and begin a conversation. "I hear you," she would say softly. "I understand that you are trying to protect me. You are not my weakness, but a part of my wisdom waiting to be understood." Her words were not mere platitudes, but a sacred dialogue with the intelligence residing within her cells. The universe listens in vibrations, not words, and Ivy's vibration was changing. She spoke to her body with the tender authority of someone who knew that every cell contains infinite potential for healing. "We are learning together," she would murmur, "transforming pain into light, struggle into grace." Walter Pembroke witnessed a similar awakening. Years of chronic discomfort had etched lines of resignation on his face, until he learned to address his pain as a messenger rather than a master. "Thank you for showing me where I need to pay attention," he would say, his voice calm and resolute. "You are not my prison, but my pathway to understanding." This was not positive thinking. This was quantum communication. Your body is not a machine, but a living intelligence that responds to the tone and intention behind your words. Every cell is listening, constantly interpreting the language of your inner dialogue. When you speak with compassion, with understanding, with love, those cells begin to rearrange themselves. The lesson unveils a profound truth. Health is not the absence of challenge, but the presence of cooperative intelligence. Your biology is not separate from your consciousness. It is a direct expression of your inner conversation. When you speak to your body with respect, with kindness, with the understanding that it is always working to support your highest good, miraculous transformations become possible. Practice conversing with your body as willing light. Each affirmation inviting intelligence to reprogram vitality into visible thriving. Chapter 12. The Wealth of Expression. You stand at the threshold of understanding that language is not merely a tool of communication, but a divine instrument of creation, especially when it comes to abundance. Lillian Carver discovered this truth in the most unexpected way, transforming her relationship with money through the alchemy of spoken word. Lillian was once trapped in a world of financial scarcity, her thoughts a tangled web of worry and constraint. But something shifted when she began to craft poems about abundance, not as wishful thinking, but as sacred declarations. Each verse became a vibrational invitation to prosperity, each line a gentle command to the universe. Her poems were not desperate pleas, but rhythmic celebrations of sufficiency. "Wealth flows like rivers," she would write. "Abundance streams through open hands." She spoke these words not with hope, but with the certainty of one who knows the universe listens and responds to every utterance. Franklin Godfrey walked a similar path, where once he dreaded paying bills, viewing them as painful extractions, he began to bless each transaction. "Thank you for the opportunity to circulate abundance," he would whisper, his fingers tracing the signature on each check. His gratitude transformed financial exchanges from transactions of lack to ceremonies of generosity. The universal law revealed itself through their experiences. Your language of money is not about the amount, but the energy behind the words. Scarcity speaks in tones of fear and limitation. Abundance speaks in tones of celebration and flow. When you speak of wealth, Speak as though it is already present, not as a future possibility, but as a current reality. Your words are not requests, but declarations. They are not hopes, but instructions to the energy that surrounds and responds to you. The divine does not understand lack, only abundance. When you speak from this understanding, your words become portals through which prosperity can enter your experience. Each blessed bill, each grateful acknowledgement of financial movement, becomes a bridge between the unseen realm of potential and the visible world of manifestation. Practice speaking words of wealth without attachment, letting them ring simply as worship of sufficiency until your world hums with effortless provision. Chapter 13. The Faith That Speaks First. In the quiet sanctuary of her modest apartment, Pearl Winslow watched opportunity pass like distant clouds, always waiting for some external confirmation before daring to speak her heart's true longing. Her whispers were tentative, her declarations hesitant, each word measured and controlled, never truly believing they could reshape her reality. The universe listens not to your careful considerations, but to the boldness of your spoken truth. Your words are not mere sounds floating into emptiness, but vibrational commands that organize energy around your deepest intentions. Martin Beauchamp understood this sacred principle differently. Where Pearl waited, he declared. Where she hesitated, he proclaimed. His language was not a request, but a revelation, each utterance a bridge between what was unseen and what was about to materialize. When Martin encountered a challenging financial season, he did not lament scarcity. Instead, he blessed the invisible abundance already moving toward him. Prosperity flows through me effortlessly, he would declare, his voice steady and assured. My resources are expanding even now, beyond what my eyes can currently perceive. The spiritual truth vibrates beneath every word. Your language does not describe reality, it creates it. Each pronounced blessing is an energetic blueprint, instructing the quantum field to organize itself around your most confident declarations. Pearl watched Martin's approach with a mixture of skepticism and emerging wonder. How could mere words transform circumstance? Yet something in his unwavering tone suggested a profound understanding beyond conventional thinking. Days turned, and Martin's world began shifting. Unexpected opportunities emerged. Connections appeared where before there seemed only emptiness. His verbal affirmations were not magical incantations, but precise instructions to the universal intelligence that perpetually responds to human consciousness. Your wealth is not determined by current conditions, but by the frequency of your inner conversation. When you speak of abundance as a present reality, rather than a future possibility, you activate a transformative energy that reorganizes your entire experience. Practice blessing your future aloud as a completed fact, feeling its reality settle now until confidence becomes your native dialect. Chapter 14. The Blessing, Hidden in Conflict. In the quiet chambers of your inner landscape, every conflict whispers a hidden melody of transformation. You stand at the threshold of understanding that what appears as struggle is merely unspoken creation seeking graceful expression. June Whittier knew this battle intimately. For years, she had wrestled with her corporate supervisor, her words sharp as steel, her frustration a constant companion. Each meeting became a battlefield of unresolved tensions, her spirit growing weary from the constant resistance. One extraordinary morning, something shifted within her. She realized that her arguments were not about winning, but about revealing an unacknowledged desire for harmony, respect, and recognition. Her complaints were actually prayers in disguise, raw, unrefined requests for understanding. The universe listens not to the volume of your words, but to the vibration beneath them. When June began to reframe her communication, speaking from a place of creative possibility rather than defensive opposition, something remarkable occurred. Instead of attacking her boss's methods, she started articulating the vision she saw: collaborative potential, innovative approaches, mutual growth. Her language transformed from criticism to invitation. She spoke as though the harmony she desired was already present, waiting to be recognized. Percy Calhoun's journey mirrored her own. A seasoned engineer trapped in bureaucratic systems, he had long harbored silent resentment. But when he learned to transmute his frustration into thanksgiving, watching for the good already existing, workplace dynamics mysteriously softened. The divine speaks through gratitude. When you acknowledge the underlying good, you activate a transformative frequency that realigns circumstances. Your words become bridges, not barriers. Each utterance carries the potential to reconstruct reality, not through force, but through loving recognition. Your complaints are incomplete creations seeking completion. They are not problems, but embryonic solutions waiting to be spoken into existence. Every frustration contains within it the seeds of its own resolution, waiting for the precise language of grace to germinate. Practice converting every complaint into a spoken blessing that assumes resolution, letting gratitude replace irritation in real time. When tension rises, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what blessing am I truly seeking? Then speak that blessing aloud, as though it is already your lived reality. Whisper words of thanksgiving where criticism once lived. Transform "this isn't working" into "we are discovering an elegant solution together." Replace "I'm frustrated" with "I trust in our collective wisdom to navigate this beautifully." Your language is the alchemical tool that transforms lead into gold, conflict into harmony, separation into unity. Chapter 15. The Resonance of Forgiveness. In the quiet chambers of your inner landscape, where memories collect like dust-laden tapestries, there lies a powerful alchemy waiting to be awakened. You have carried wounds, some ancient as mountains, others fresh as morning dew, each a fragment of unresolved energy that whispers its story through your cells. Flora Huntington knew this terrain intimately. Her bitterness had become a constant companion, a static noise that hummed beneath her conversations, her relationships, her very breath. It was a frequency of pain that seemed to replay endlessly, like a worn record skipping on its most discordant groove. But one transformative moment, she discovered the sacred art of whispered absolution. In a breath so tender it could barely be heard, she spoke forgiveness, first to herself, then to those who had wounded her. And in that instant, something extraordinary occurred. The static dissolved, replaced by a profound, resonant silence. The universal law revealed itself. Forgiveness is not merely an emotional act, but a frequency correction. When you speak pardoning words, you are literally realigning the energetic channels of your existence. Each syllable of forgiveness is a quantum recalibration, reshaping the very template of your experience. Milton Redding understood this principle viscerally. Burdened by years of self-recrimination, he began speaking forgiveness aloud, not as a weak surrender, but as a powerful declaration of liberation. "I forgive myself completely," he would say, his voice steady and clear. Miraculously, as he spoke these words, opportunities that had long been dormant began to resurrect themselves. This is the profound truth. Forgiveness is not about condoning past actions, but about freeing yourself from their energetic grip. When you forgive, you are not diminishing the significance of what occurred, but you are reclaiming your creative power. You are saying to the universe, "I choose to no longer be defined by this experience." The interpretation is clear. Forgiveness literally retunes your manifestation channels. It is a vibrational reset, clearing the interference that blocks your natural state of abundance, peace, and potential. Your practice, then, becomes a sacred ritual of release. Approach forgiveness as a full-bodied declaration of freedom. Let the words flow not just through your mind, but through every cell, every muscle, every breath. Feel the dense energy of resentment slowly dissolve, replaced by a lightness that feels almost ethereal. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Speak your forgiveness, first to yourself, then to those who have caused you pain. Feel the lightness replace density, as if invisible chains are falling away, leaving you unburdened, unencumbered, and utterly free. What I share in these readings is only the surface of a far older wisdom, the metaphysical laws that govern manifestation, energy, and reality itself. The true depth lives inside our free newsletter, The Hidden Collection. Sign up now and receive a free copy of The Kybalion, the ancient book where these metaphysical laws were first revealed, available for a limited time only. Chapter 16. The Law of Loving Expectation. In the intricate tapestry of universal law, your expectations are not mere thoughts, but powerful declarations that shape the very fabric of your reality. You stand at the threshold of creation, your anticipation, a paintbrush that colors the canvas of your experience before the first stroke touches the surface. Nora Wentworth knew disappointment like an old, unwelcome companion. Her life had become a reflection of her deepest fears, a self-fulfilling prophecy etched in the language of doubt. Each morning she would wake anticipating challenges, and like a faithful servant, the universe would obediently arrange precisely what she expected. Her expectations were not neutral observations, but potent spells cast unconsciously. When she whispered, "Nothing ever goes right for me," the world listened and conspired to prove her correct. Her mood became a magnet, drawing toward her the very experiences she most feared. The universal teaching reveals a profound truth. Expectation is prophecy disguised as mood. Your inner tone does not simply predict, it prescribes. Each anticipation is a vibrational blueprint that the universe interprets as a direct instruction, meticulously arranging circumstances to match your internal narrative. Contrast Nora's experience with Clyde Ogilvy, a man who approached life with a different energetic signature. Clyde expected delight as naturally as breathing. His mornings began with an unshakable certainty that wonderful experiences were not just possible but inevitable, and so they were. Where Nora saw obstacles, Clyde saw opportunities. Where she anticipated struggle, he welcomed ease. His loving expectation became a pre-authorization for miracles, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary encounters. The universe did not just respond to Clyde. It seemed to dance with him, arranging synchronicities and joyful surprises that left him in constant wonder. The interpretation is crystal clear. Your expectation is a creative force more powerful than any external circumstance. It is not about positive thinking, but about a profound understanding that your inner state is the true architect of your experience. You are not a passive recipient of life's events, but an active creator. Your expectations are not wishful thinking, but divine commands. When you expect beauty, grace, and expansion, you are literally instructing the quantum field to organize itself around your vision. This is not manipulation, but alignment. You are remembering your role as a co-creator, understanding that the universe is not separate from you, but an extension of your consciousness, waiting to be directed by your most intimate beliefs. Practice expecting beauty with playful certainty, speaking anticipation as affection, until the universe rushes to match your enthusiasm. Chapter 17. The Sacred Use of Imagination. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Marjorie Blackwell sat surrounded by the shadows of her own anxious imaginings. Her mind, a turbulent landscape of endless worries, had become a fertile ground where fear sprouted and multiplied with ruthless efficiency. Each thought was a seed, carefully nurtured by her relentless anxiety, growing into elaborate scenarios of potential disaster. You might recognize this pattern. How often have you found yourself constructing intricate narratives of failure, weaving complex tapestries of potential misfortune? Your imagination, that sacred creative chamber within, is not meant to be a workshop of worry, but a divine laboratory of manifestation. The universe listens to every story you tell, not with judgment, but with a profound willingness to translate your inner narratives into external reality. Your imagination is not a passive screen upon which life plays out, but an active creative force that shapes the very fabric of your existence. Howard Kincaid understood this principle intimately. Where others saw obstacles, he saw opportunities waiting to be sculpted by the gentle hands of positive expectation. He would sit in quiet contemplation, having vivid conversations with his future successful self, not as a mere visualization exercise, but as a genuine dialogue with the potential already existing within the quantum field of possibilities. When Howard imagined success, he did not merely see it, he conversed with it. He spoke to his future achievements as if they were trusted companions, already present and breathing alongside him. His imagination was not a distant dream, but a living, breathing reality waiting to be stepped into. The divine does not distinguish between what you consider real and what you imagine. To the universal intelligence, a thought held with conviction is a command, a blueprint for manifestation. Your inner vision, when seasoned with joy and certainty, becomes a powerful directive that reality cannot help but follow. Your imagination is a sacred tool, far more potent than you might currently comprehend. It is not a playground of fantasy, but a workshop of creation. Every image you hold, every story you tell internally, is a prayer, a vibrational instruction sent into the cosmos, requesting its eager collaboration. The key is not just to imagine, but to imagine with the energy of already happening, not with desperate hoping, but with the calm certainty of one who knows their creative power. Your vision, when infused with joy and loving expectation, becomes a magnet drawing corresponding experiences into your physical realm. Practice imagining scenes that confirm divine outcome while softly narrating them as present truth, converting fantasy into spiritual statement. Chapter 18. The Wisdom of Receiving. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Irene Driscoll stood before the mirror, her reflection a testament to years of self-denial. Compliments rolled off her like water on waxed paper, never penetrating the protective shell she had constructed around her spirit. Her hands, calloused from years of hard work, trembled slightly as she recalled the countless times she had deflected kind words, believing that accepting praise was a form of arrogance. The universe whispers its truths through unexpected channels, and for Irene, the lesson of receiving was about to unfold like a delicate scroll of understanding. Each time someone offered her a genuine acknowledgement, she would quickly redirect, minimize, or outright dismiss the words. "Oh, it was nothing," she would say, or "anyone could have done that," effectively closing the sacred circuit of creative energy. But divine wisdom knows no boundaries. Your ability to receive is as crucial to manifestation as your ability to give. Each compliment is an energetic offering, a blessing waiting to be integrated into your being. When you reject praise, you are not being humble. You are blocking the flow of universal abundance. Edwin Templeton, a colleague who had witnessed Irene's persistent self-minimization, understood this principle intimately. He had learned that speaking one's worth aloud was not vanity, but a form of spiritual alignment. Where Irene would shrink, Edwin would expand. He would stand before his mirror and declare his value, his capabilities, his inherent worth. "I am worthy of every good thing," Edwin would say. "My contributions matter. My presence is a gift to this world." And remarkably, as he spoke these words, not from ego but from a place of genuine self-respect, opportunities began to materialize. Promotions, unexpected connections, moments of synchronicity, all seemed to dance around him with increasing frequency. The interpretation of this spiritual law is profound. True humility is not about diminishing yourself, but about recognizing your divine nature. It is about accepting blessings as naturally as you would breathe. When you close yourself to praise, you close yourself to growth. When you open yourself to acknowledgement, you create space for miracles. Your worth is not determined by how small you can make yourself appear, but by how fully you can embrace your inherent magnificence. Each compliment is an invitation to remember who you truly are, a divine being having a human experience. Practice allowing praise, gifts, and guidance to flow through you with verbal gratitude, sealing every acceptance with gentle joy. Chapter 19. The Divine Detachment. In the quiet corners of her meticulously organized life, Esther Mayfield had always believed that control was the key to manifestation. Her hands gripped tightly around her desires, her mind a relentless engine of calculation and strategy. Every dream was a puzzle to be solved, every opportunity a mechanism to be manipulated. Yet the universe whispers its wisdom differently. Your deepest manifestations arrive not through forceful grip, but through the elegant art of releasing. Imagine your desires as delicate birds. Clutch them, and they cannot spread their wings. Open your hands, and they take flight precisely where they are meant to go. Arthur Penrose understood this sacred principle intuitively. Where others strategized, he simply spoke his truth and then surrendered. His words were not demands, but declarations, uttered with a calm certainty that required no further argument from the universe. When Arthur desired a significant business opportunity, he did not spend weeks plotting every potential pathway. He spoke his intention clearly. "I am aligned with my most expansive professional journey," and then stepped back. He did not chase, manipulate, or anxiously monitor. He trusted. The universe responds to the frequency of your inner state, not the volume of your external efforts. Your most powerful manifestations emerge from a place of serene knowing, where desire meets absolute faith. Detachment is not indifference. It is the highest form of confidence. For Esther, this was a radical reimagining. Her lifetime of strategic maneuvering began to dissolve, replaced by a more elegant approach. She learned that true manifestation is not about controlling every detail, but about declaring your truth and allowing space for miraculous unfolding. The interpretation reveals a profound spiritual law. Once you have spoken your intention, silence becomes your most potent prayer. Your words are the seed, but trust is the soil that allows miraculous growth. Practice releasing desire with language of knowing, saying, "It is done," until peace replaces grasping. Chapter 20. The Choice to Praise. Gladys Ellington stood at her window, watching thunderclouds gather with an intensity that would have once filled her with dread. But something within her had changed, a profound understanding that her inner language could reshape the very atmosphere around her. The storms of life had always been Gladys's greatest challenge. Where others saw darkness, she had learned to see opportunity. Her transformation began on a day much like this, when rain lashed against her window panes and wind howled with seemingly destructive intent. In that moment, instead of cowering, Gladys began to speak. "I praise this rain that nourishes the earth," she whispered. "I bless these winds that clear away what no longer serves." Her words were not a denial of the storm, but a recognition of its deeper purpose. The universe listens to those who speak with reverence. Your words are not merely sounds, but vibrations that dance with the very fabric of reality. When you praise, you elevate your consciousness beyond the immediate circumstance, transforming perception itself. Wesley Trumbull had discovered this truth in his own journey. Once a man who saw obstacles everywhere, he realized that complaining was a form of imprisonment. Each negative word was a bar in the cell of limitation. But praise was the key that unlocked every door. When Wesley began to bless his challenges, something miraculous occurred. The very situations that once seemed insurmountable began to shift. His praise became a language of liberation, speaking to the core of existence itself. Divine perception understands that what you affirm, you align with. Praise is not about ignoring difficulties, but about recognizing the underlying perfection that exists beneath surface appearances. It is a radical act of seeing beyond the immediate, of touching the eternal thread that weaves through all experiences. Your words are creative instruments. They are not passive descriptions, but active shapers of reality. When you praise, you tune your consciousness to a divine wavelength, a frequency of abundance, possibility, and grace. Imagine your words as light passing through a prism, breaking into countless colors of potential. Praise does this. It takes the seemingly mundane and reveals its extraordinary nature. It transforms perception from a limited view to an expansive understanding. The storm outside is never just a storm. It is a symphony of transformation, a dance of elements, a cleansing force. Your praise acknowledges this deeper truth. It sees beyond the surface, recognizing the sacred in every moment. Practice daily praise of all things seen and unseen, letting your words become windows where divinity shines through ordinary hours. Part 3. The Becoming. Chapter 21. The Language of Infinite Flow. In the quiet landscape of her inner world, Sylvie Cornell first discovered the profound connection between her words and her vitality. Each time she muttered phrases of limitation, "I never have enough," or "money is always tight," she could feel her energetic boundaries constricting, like a river suddenly forced through a narrow channel. The universe listens with exquisite precision to the language of your inner dialogue. When you speak from a place of scarcity, you are not merely describing a condition. You are actively instructing the cosmic energy around you to contract and limit. Your words are not passive observations, but active commands that shape the very fabric of your experience. Rupert Haskins understood this truth when he began to deliberately reshape his internal narrative. Instead of lamenting what was missing, he started affirming, "Life flows through me easily." At first, these words felt like a distant melody, unfamiliar and almost uncomfortable. But with consistent repetition, something remarkable began to occur. Synchronicities started emerging around him like delicate threads weaving a new tapestry of possibility. Unexpected opportunities appeared, resources arrived without struggle, and connections formed with an effortless grace that seemed to defy his previous understanding of how life worked. The interpretation of this phenomenon is simple yet profound. Flow is not something that happens to you, but something you grant permission for through your language. When you speak of abundance, of ease, of continuous supply, you are opening energetic pathways that were always present but previously obscured by your restrictive dialogue. Your words are not merely sounds escaping your lips. They are vibrational instructions to the quantum field surrounding you. Each utterance is a brushstroke on the canvas of reality, each affirmation a key that can unlock dormant potentials. Practice allowing flow consciousness by affirming generosity inwardly until all resistance melts into rhythm of supply. Chapter 22. The Light of True Identity. In the gentle whispers of dawn, Mabel Easton stood before her mirror, a woman perpetually chasing external validation, her soul feeling like a fragile vessel constantly seeking approval from the world outside. She had spent decades constructing an identity built on others' expectations, each compliment a temporary patch on her fractured sense of self, each criticism a wound that seemed to define her worth. But on this morning, something profound stirred within her. A quiet revelation emerged, not as a thunderous proclamation, but as a soft, undeniable truth. Her identity was not something to be constructed, but something to be remembered. Your true essence, the teaching reveals, exists beyond the narratives others have written about you, beyond the limitations you have placed upon yourself. Mabel began to understand that divine awareness is not earned, but inherent. It is the fundamental state of your being, waiting to be recognized rather than achieved. Like a lotus emerging from muddy waters, your true self rises, unchanged and pristine, regardless of the circumstances surrounding it. Across town, Calvin Hollister embodied this principle with remarkable clarity. When he began affirming, "I am divine awareness," something remarkable happened. The fears that had previously paralyzed him, fears of inadequacy, of failure, of not being enough, began to dissolve like mist under morning sunlight. This was not mere positive thinking, but a profound remembrance. By speaking his divine nature, Calvin was not creating something new, but revealing what had always existed. Your words are not magic spells that transform you, but keys that unlock the door to your already present wholeness. The interpretation of this truth is powerful. Ownership of your godhood restores an unshakable calm power. When you recognize that you are not a limited human trying to become divine, but divine consciousness experiencing human form, everything changes. Your perspective shifts from seeking power to embodying it. This understanding transforms struggle into grace, uncertainty into confidence. You are not a victim of circumstances, but the very consciousness that creates them. Your divine awareness is not something distant or abstract. It is the living, breathing essence of your moment-to-moment experience. Practice reminding yourself verbally who you are beyond name and story, until self-concept matches eternal truth. Chapter 23. The Healing Power of Presence. In the tapestry of human experience, you stand at the threshold of your most profound discovery, the eternal now, where true identity resides. Hattie Loring had spent decades weaving a narrative of regret, her mind a labyrinth of what-ifs and missed opportunities. Each memory was a chain, binding her to a past that existed only in her imagination. But the universe whispers a different truth. Presence is the language of divine consciousness. Your power lives not in remembered stories, but in the breathing moment that contains all possibility. When you truly inhabit this instant, you become a living prayer, a sacred utterance of now. Dexter Langley understood this wisdom intimately. Where others chased futures or mourned pasts, he learned to anchor his awareness to the simple rhythm of breath. Each inhale became a declaration of being, each exhale a release of temporal illusions. Around him, miracles gathered, not as dramatic interventions, but as quiet alignments of grace. Your true identity is not a collection of achievements or failures. It is awareness itself, unbounded, eternal, complete. The moment you stop narrating your life and simply witness it, you discover a profound stillness. This stillness is not empty, but full, pregnant with potential, vibrant with unmanifested dreams. The present moment is God's native language. It speaks in sensations, in the warmth of sunlight on your skin, in the subtle pulse of your heartbeat. When you listen deeply, you hear a conversation far more intricate than words. A dialogue between your eternal self and the infinite intelligence that breathes you into existence. Your regrets are merely stories disconnected from this moment. They have no real substance when you truly arrive here, now. The past dissolves, the future remains unborn, and you, pure awareness, remain. Notice how your mind tries to escape this moment, how it constructs narratives and projections. These are merely ripples on the surface of consciousness, temporary and insubstantial. Your true nature is the vast, unchanging awareness in which these ripples appear and disappear. Dexter's practice was simple yet profound. Return to breath, return to now. Not as a technique, but as a remembrance of who you truly are. Each breath becomes a gentle reminder. You are not the story, you are the storyteller. You are not the experience, you are the experiencing itself. Practice returning your words to now, describing your current peace until time itself softens into grace. Chapter 24. The Dance of Alignment. In the tapestry of life's unfolding, you have been taught to chase, to strive, to push against the currents of existence. But what if true movement is not about force, but about listening? Lydia Porter knew this struggle intimately. Her days were a relentless marathon of effort, her goals pursued with such intensity that her very breath seemed to strain against the universe's natural rhythm. Lydia's life had been a constant push, pushing through challenges, pushing past limitations, pushing herself toward dreams that always seemed just beyond her grasp. Each morning she would rise with a battle plan, her internal dialogue a harsh sergeant demanding progress. "I must achieve," she would tell herself. "I must make things happen." Her words were hammers, not harmonies, demands, not dialogues. But the universe whispers differently. It moves not with force, but with grace. True alignment is not about conquering, but about dancing, allowing your steps to synchronize with a music larger than your individual ambition. When you learn to move with divine choreography, your efforts transform from struggle to flow. Everett McLean discovered this secret accidentally. Where once he had fought against his work's natural progression, he began speaking to his tasks with a newfound reverence. "I am guided," he would softly declare. "My work moves through me with ease and inspiration." His words were not wishes, but invitations, invitations to a more harmonious way of being. The transformation was subtle, yet profound. Instead of battling his projects, Everett began to listen. He spoke to his work as a partner, not an opponent. His language shifted from "I must" to "I allow." And in this allowing, something miraculous occurred. Inspiration began to flow through him like a gentle stream, carrying his efforts with an effortless momentum. Surrender, in this context, is not weakness. It is the highest form of creation. When you align your speech with the universal rhythm, you are not giving up. You are tuning in. You are becoming a conduit for something greater than your individual will. Your life is not a series of conquests, but a collaborative dance. Each moment is an opportunity to synchronize, to listen, to allow. Your words can be bridges instead of barriers, invitations instead of demands. Practice aligning speech with ease by affirming partnership with universal rhythm until you feel creation's music move through you. There are metaphysical truths I cannot speak openly in these readings, laws too powerful to share with those who are not yet ready. For the ones who are, I've placed the deeper teachings inside our free newsletter, The Hidden Collection. Subscribe now, and you'll also receive a free copy of the Kybalion, the ancient text where these metaphysical laws were first preserved. Available for a limited time only. Chapter 25. The Radiance of Gratitude. In the soft light of early morning, Olive Sanford stood by her window, whispering gratitude into the silence. Her words were not desperate pleas, but gentle acknowledgments of blessings yet unseen, yet undeniably present. She understood something profound about the language of manifestation, that true gratitude was not a response to what had arrived, but an invitation to what was coming. Olive's practice began simply. Each morning she would close her eyes and thank the universe for opportunities not yet visible, for abundance not yet tangible, for dreams still forming in the unseen realms of potential. Her gratitude was not a calculation, but a pure vibration of recognition. When Felix Dalrymple first heard of her approach, he was skeptical. A practical businessman, he had always believed that success came from hard work and strategic planning. But something in Olive's gentle certainty intrigued him. He began to experiment, offering thanks before the sun had fully risen, speaking words of appreciation as if his desires were already complete. The universe, it seemed, listened intently to those who spoke with such unwavering certainty. Felix noticed small shifts first, unexpected connections, synchronistic meetings, opportunities that seemed to materialize from thin air. Where once he had pushed and struggled, now things began to flow with remarkable ease. The teaching was clear. Gratitude is not a reaction, but a creative force. It is the language of recognition that multiplies form, that calls forth potential into tangible reality. When you thank the universe for what you desire as if it is already present, you align yourself with the frequency of manifestation. Your gratitude becomes a bridge between the unseen and the seen, between potential and reality. It is a holy conversation, a sacred dialogue where your words are not wishes, but declarations. Each thankful utterance is a brushstroke on the canvas of creation, painting your desired reality with the vibrant colors of belief and appreciation. The interpretation reveals a profound truth. Divine gratitude is not about waiting, but about acknowledging. It is the art of recognizing blessings before they fully materialize, of speaking to the potential within every moment. Practice voicing gratitude as heartbeat language until joy becomes automatic respiration. Chapter 26. The Creative Use of Emotion. You carry within you an alchemical power far greater than you realize. Your emotions are not merely fleeting experiences, but potent energetic currencies that shape the very fabric of your reality. Each feeling, when spoken and acknowledged, becomes a creative force capable of reshaping your world. Betsy Mortimer learned this truth through years of silent suffering. For decades, she had tucked her sadness into hidden corners of her heart, believing that suppression was strength. Her unspoken grief accumulated like sediment, slowly solidifying around her experiences, creating a landscape of limitation and pain. When Betsy finally understood that emotions are not to be feared but listened to, everything changed. She began to speak her feelings with compassionate awareness, transforming her inner narrative from a whispered lament to a declaration of resilience. Randall Beaumont walked a similar path. Grief had been his companion after losing his beloved wife, a sorrow that seemed to calcify his very being. But instead of allowing grief to consume him, he began to transmute its energy. He spoke to his pain, not with resistance, but with profound appreciation for the love that had birthed such deep feeling. "Thank you," he would say to his grief, "for showing me the depth of my capacity to love." In that moment of radical acceptance, something miraculous occurred. The energy that had been dense and contractive began to shift. Where once there was stagnation, a current of healing started to flow. Randall discovered that emotions, when truly felt and consciously expressed, are not obstacles but gateways. The universe listens to the vibration of your inner language. When you speak your emotions with wisdom and grace, you transform them from potential barriers into bridges of understanding. Each feeling carries a message, a sacred communication from your deeper self waiting to be heard. Your emotions are never wrong. They are messengers, arriving with insights about your inner world. The key is not to judge them, but to translate their language with compassion and clarity. Practice expressing emotion through empowered language, converting every feeling into clarification rather than condemnation. Chapter 27. The Mastery of Focus. Your attention is a sacred instrument of creation, more potent than you might comprehend. Like a lens focusing sunlight, your awareness has the power to transform scattered energy into concentrated manifestation. When you scatter your focus across multiple worries, you dilute your creative potential, creating fragmented realities that reflect your fractured attention. Cora Fielding discovered this truth through painful experience. Her mind was a landscape of scattered thoughts, fragments of anxiety about her career, whispers of doubt about her relationships, echoes of past failures. Each worry was a tiny fracture in her potential, preventing her from experiencing the wholeness she deeply desired. The universe responds to your attention with exacting precision. Every thought you nurture becomes a seed, every sustained focus a fertile ground for creation. When you learn to concentrate your inner dialogue on what truly matters, miracles begin to crystallize around your chosen vision. Dwight Mallory understood this principle intuitively. Where others saw obstacles, he trained his words toward a singular, joyful goal. He didn't merely hope or wish. He spoke with unwavering commitment. His language became a focused beam of intention, cutting through confusion and uncertainty. The divine creative principle operates through concentration. Your attention is not a passive experience, but an active force that shapes reality. When you learn to speak with precision, to direct your inner narrative toward specific outcomes, you become a conscious creator rather than a passive observer. This is not about positive thinking in its simplistic form. This is about understanding that your words carry vibrational energy, and when aligned with clear intention, they become instructions for the universal intelligence that surrounds and permeates you. Your emotions are not random experiences, but creative currencies. They are the energetic fuel that gives power to your words. When you learn to channel them consciously, transforming reactive patterns into intentional expressions, you unlock a profound mechanism of manifestation. The key is not to suppress or ignore challenging emotions, but to transmute them, feel them fully, then redirect their energy toward your desired outcome. Your emotions, when consciously directed, become powerful allies in your creative process. Practice speaking only of what you wish prolonged, keeping verbal focus unwavering until chosen goodness solidifies. Chapter 28. The Harmony of Unity. In the quiet dawn of understanding, you discover that your words are not merely sounds escaping your lips, but bridges connecting the seemingly separate fragments of existence. Eliza Holling's journey illuminates a profound truth. Every utterance carries the potential to dissolve the illusion of separation, transforming communication into a sacred act of recognition. When Eliza first learned to see herself in others, her world shifted. No longer were interactions transactional or defensive. They became moments of deep communion. She began to realize that every word spoken carried an energetic signature that returned to its source, amplified by the universal law of resonance. Reuben Carrington demonstrated this principle with remarkable clarity. Where once he encountered conflict, he now saw opportunity for connection. By affirming oneness, not as a philosophical concept, but as a living, breathing reality, he discovered that unity was not something to be achieved, but remembered. The teaching reveals a transformative perspective. Your speech is not just a tool of communication, but a vibrational instrument of healing. When you speak to another, you are essentially speaking to a reflection of yourself. Every word becomes an opportunity to recognize the divine essence that interconnects all beings. This is not about negating individual experiences, but about understanding the fundamental wholeness underlying apparent diversity. Your words can be instruments of separation or bridges of understanding. Each time you choose to see the shared humanity, the shared divinity in another, you activate a profound healing frequency. The interpretation goes deeper. God language does not distinguish between you and me, but speaks in the universal we. It recognizes that true communication transcends personal boundaries, touching the fundamental unity that exists beneath surface differences. Your words have the power to transform perception. When you speak from a place of fundamental connection, you invite others to recognize their own inherent wholeness. This is not about agreement or compliance, but about seeing the sacred spark that resides in every being. Practice addressing every being with verbal unity, saying internally, "I see myself in you," until division loses meaning. Chapter 29. The Ease of Allowing. In the quiet corners of her meticulously organized life, Harriet Dunbar had constructed walls of control so precise that even the wind seemed to require permission to breathe. Her days were a choreographed dance of managed expectations, each moment calculated, each interaction scripted. Yet beneath this rigid facade, a deep exhaustion grew, the weariness of a soul constantly wrestling against the natural flow of existence. One autumn morning, as golden leaves drifted unbidden across her pristine lawn, Harriet felt something shift. The universe whispered a truth she had long resisted. True power resides not in controlling every detail, but in trusting the larger intelligence that moves through all things. Morris Langdon, a distant acquaintance whose calm seemed almost supernatural, had once shared a profound wisdom with her. Life, he would say, is not a battle to be won, but a symphony to be experienced. His words echoed now, challenging her lifelong belief that safety meant rigid management. The teaching crystallized within her. Divine speech is not a command, but a gentle conversation with life itself. Allowance is not weakness, but a profound form of trust. Each time she had fought against circumstances, she had been arguing with the very intelligence that was attempting to guide her toward her highest good. Slowly, Harriet began to release her grip, not with resignation, but with a growing understanding that life's intelligence was far more nuanced than her limited perspective. She started speaking to her challenges differently, not as problems to solve, but as opportunities seeking expression. When unexpected changes arrived, a project shift, an unanticipated delay, a surprising turn in a relationship, she practiced breathing into them. Her words transformed from controlling directives to gentle acknowledgments, I trust this is unfolding perfectly. I am open to the wisdom of this moment. Morris's approach had been living proof. Where Harriet would have strategized and manipulated, he would simply allow, speaking peace into uncertainty. And miraculously, situations that would have previously sent her into spirals of anxiety now seemed to settle with an elegant, almost magical ease. The interpretation became crystal clear. Allowance is not passive submission, but an active, empowered state of receptivity. By releasing her death grip on outcomes, she was actually opening gates built by grace. Gates that had always been there, waiting for her to simply step through. Her transformation was not about becoming someone new, but about remembering the inherent wisdom already residing within her. Divine speech was not about controlling life, but about dancing with it. Practice saying yes to life aloud, acknowledging perfection in progress until serenity becomes your tone. Chapter 30. The Return to Divine Conversation. In the soft light of early dawn, you discover a truth that has always been whispering beneath your thoughts. Separation is but a language mistake. Ruth Pennington's journey reveals how every internal conversation can either construct walls or build bridges back to your true essence. Like many, Ruth had wandered through life believing herself disconnected from her purpose, from divine intelligence, from her own profound nature. She had spoken to herself as a fragmented being, using words that suggested isolation, limitation, and struggle. Each thought was a brick in a wall of perceived separation, each doubt a mortar that sealed her away from her inherent wholeness. But then came the moment of awakening. She realized that every word spoken internally was actually a conversation with the universal consciousness, a dialogue that never truly ends, only transforms. Your inner speech is not a monologue, but a continuous exchange with the divine intelligence that breathes through all of existence. Gabriel Whitlow demonstrated this principle beautifully. He began thanking his own consciousness as though it were a dear friend, speaking to his inner self with profound respect and love. "Thank you," he would whisper, "for guiding me, for holding me, for being my constant companion." And in those moments of grateful acknowledgement, joy would surge through him like a golden river, dissolving the illusion of separation. The interpretation becomes clear. Prayer is not something external you perform, but an internal dialogue where thought and divine consciousness merge. Every word you speak to yourself is a prayer. Every inner conversation, a sacred communion. You are never truly alone. You are always in conversation with the infinite intelligence that animates all of life. This understanding transforms how you perceive your inner landscape. Your thoughts are not random mental events, but sacred utterances that connect you directly to the source of all creation. When you speak to yourself with awareness, you are simultaneously speaking to the universe, to your highest self, to the divine intelligence that orchestrates all of existence. Practice greeting yourself each morning as divine mind addressing divine heart until the two speak clearly as one. Part 4. The Expansion. Chapter 31. The Song of Divine Timing. You stand at the threshold of understanding a profound universal truth. Time is not a linear path to be conquered, but a sacred dance of perfect unfolding. Everett Milburn's journey illuminates this wisdom, revealing how impatience is nothing more than a subtle form of mistrust disguised as noble effort. For years, Everett had pushed against the natural flow of life, believing that success demanded constant striving and relentless momentum. His dreams became a battlefield where he fought against invisible constraints, believing that speed equaled progress and hesitation meant failure. Each moment not spent in furious action felt like a betrayal of his potential. But the universe whispers its lessons through gentle revelations. Slowly, Everett began to recognize that his constant pushing was not an expression of power, but a manifestation of deep inner uncertainty. Every forceful action carried an underlying message of doubt, a silent declaration that he did not trust the divine orchestration of his life. The spiritual core of this revelation transcends individual experience. Your relationship with time reflects your relationship with trust. When you attempt to manipulate, accelerate, or control the unfolding of events, you are essentially telling the universe that its timing is insufficient. Each anxious moment is a statement of disconnection from the greater wisdom that guides all experience. Clarice Holcomb embodied a different approach. When faced with uncertainty, she would softly affirm, "Everything unfolds in perfect rhythm." These words were not mere positive thinking, but a profound recognition of an underlying universal intelligence. Her practice transformed waiting from a state of tension to a space of serene expectation. Imagine time not as a linear progression, but as an intricate symphony where each note arrives precisely when needed. Your role is not to rush the music, but to listen, to trust, to recognize that every pause, every seemingly slow movement, is integral to the complete composition of your life. The interpretation reveals a transformative truth. Divine speech acknowledges harmony's schedule rather than demanding rearrangement. Your internal dialogue can either resist or align with this natural flow. When you speak from a place of trust, you become a conduit for grace, allowing events to emerge with elegant precision. This understanding shifts your entire relationship with timing. Impatience becomes a signal, not to work harder, but to trust more deeply. Each moment of waiting is an invitation to cultivate inner peace, to recognize that what appears as delay is actually careful preparation. Practice declaring your trust in divine orchestration aloud, feeling the comfort of right sequences guiding you, until anticipation transforms into calm recognition that all moments are sacredly timed. Chapter 32. The Courage to Declare Light. In the quiet corners of her modest existence, Dorothy Fenwick had always kept her dreams tucked away, believing that speaking of one's potential was a form of arrogance. She had been taught that humility meant diminishing oneself, wearing silence like a virtuous cloak. Yet something within her stirred, a whisper that suggested true humility was not about shrinking, but about acknowledging the divine spark that resided within. Your journey is not about making yourself small, but about recognizing the vast, luminous energy that flows through you. Each time you silence your truth, you dim the very light that was meant to illuminate not just your path, but the paths of those around you. Nelson Pryor understood this profound truth. Where Dorothy once hesitated, he stood boldly, declaring his worth with a clarity that resonated through the universe. He did not boast, but he also refused to apologize for his inherent magnificence. When he spoke of his capabilities, of his dreams, of his potential, the universe listened. Opportunities that had once seemed distant began to align themselves with his unwavering self-recognition. The divine does not create mediocrity. It creates potential waiting to be acknowledged. Your words are not requests, but declarations. They are not hopes, but commands written in the language of creation itself. When you speak of your goodness, you are not being prideful. You are being truthful. Imagine for a moment that every time you minimize yourself, you are placing a veil between your true self and the miraculous opportunities waiting to manifest. False humility is a form of spiritual resistance. It is saying no to the very energy that wishes to express itself through you. The interpretation is clear. God language never apologizes for shining. It does not cower or qualify its brilliance. It simply exists in full radiance, knowing that to dim one's light is to dishonor the very source that created it. Dorothy began to understand that her reluctance was not humility but fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being powerful, fear of the magnificent potential that lived within her waiting to be unleashed. Practice proclaiming your goodness internally and aloud until your tone celebrates divinity through you, instead of shrinking from its brilliance. Chapter 33. The Still Power of Faithful Vision. In the soft light of early morning, you stand at the window, watching how scattered thoughts drift like leaves in an uncertain wind. Your vision, that delicate, trembling thing, has often been a landscape of shifting shadows, never fully taking root. Tessie Underwood knew this terrain intimately. Her dreams were like quicksilver, shimmering brilliantly one moment, then dissolving before they could manifest. She would begin a project with magnificent enthusiasm, only to abandon it when the first challenge appeared, her focus fragmenting like glass striking stone. The universe listens to consistency, not to momentary bursts of inspiration. Your inner dialogue creates vibrational blueprints that either stabilize or scatter your potential. When you speak of your dreams with wavering conviction, you communicate uncertainty to the very energy meant to support your vision. Emerson Pickett represented the opposite approach. Where others saw obstacles, he maintained an unwavering image of abundance. He did not merely hope, he knew. His vision was a fixed point of light, radiating certainty through every cell of his being. When he spoke of his goals, his words carried the weight of immutable truth. Your vision is not a fragile thing to be protected, but a powerful declaration waiting to be embodied. Steadfastness is not rigidity, but a form of spiritual confidence. It is the quiet knowing that what you envision is already alive, waiting for your consistent recognition to become visible. The art of manifestation resides not in desperate reaching, but in calm, unwavering acknowledgement. Your chosen goal becomes a sacred contract between your inner vision and the universal intelligence that responds to genuine belief. Every time you speak of your dream with calm certainty, you are sending precise coordinates to the quantum field of potential. Emerson understood this principle deeply. His abundance was not a future possibility, but a present reality he simply allowed to unfold. He spoke of prosperity as a friend already seated at his table, not as a distant stranger he hoped might visit. The interpretation is clear. Your focus is spiritual gravity. Just as celestial bodies are drawn by immutable forces, your steadfast vision pulls corresponding experiences toward you. Wavering dilutes this gravitational power. Consistent belief amplifies it. Practice preserving your chosen vision with gentle patience, speaking of its reality as fixed star rather than flickering wish until faith becomes immovable clarity. Chapter 34. The Invitation of Wonder. You stand at the threshold of remembrance, where seriousness dissolves and wonder awakens. Like Opal Thurston, you might have believed that growing older meant casting aside the luminous lens of childhood, that magical way of seeing where every moment trembles with potential and mystery. The universe whispers that wonder is not childish, but profoundly divine. It is the sacred art of perceiving life not as a series of mundane events, but as an unfolding miracle. Your capacity for awe is your spiritual intelligence, your ability to recognize the extraordinary nestled within the ordinary. Consider Gordon Latimer, who transformed his perception by practicing reverence for life's smallest manifestations. He discovered that when you truly look, with soft eyes and an open heart, miracles do not merely happen around you. They emerge through you. A dewdrop becomes a universe, a butterfly's wing a testament to intricate design, a passing breeze a conversation with the infinite. Wonder is not naive excitement, but a profound state of receptivity. It is the language of divine curiosity, where your consciousness expands beyond limitation and enters a realm of perpetual discovery. Each moment becomes an invitation, each experience a revelation. When you approach life with wonder, you dismantle the rigid structures of expectation. You allow yourself to be surprised, to be moved, to be transformed. Your perception becomes a living prayer, acknowledging the sacred intelligence that breathes through all things. The interpretation of wonder is simple yet profound. It is the beloved's whisper saying, "Look, I am here." In every moment of genuine amazement, you are listening to the voice of creation itself, recognizing the magic that pulses beneath apparent reality. Your wonder is not a passive state, but an active communion with life. It is a radical choice to see beyond the surface, to trust in the unseen, to believe in the possibility that exists just beyond your current understanding. Practice describing your day with the voice of wonder, speaking gratitude as poetry, until life becomes luminous through your playful speech. Chapter 35. The Serenity of Letting Be. The universe whispers its wisdom through surrender, not struggle. You have been taught to believe that control is power, but true mastery resides in releasing your grip and trusting the invisible choreography that moves through all things. Nadine Claymore understood this truth only after years of exhaustive intervention. Her life had been a relentless campaign of fixing her children's paths, her husband's career, her friends' relationships, her community's challenges. Each correction demanded immense energy, leaving her depleted and increasingly anxious. One autumn afternoon, sitting in her garden surrounded by chrysanthemums that bloomed despite her meticulous gardening, not because of it, Nadine realized something profound. Life flows most elegantly when you stop trying to direct its current. Her revelation came not as a thunderbolt, but as a gentle whisper. The flowers didn't need her constant manipulation to grow. The birds didn't require her strategic planning to find their path. The wind moved freely. The clouds transformed effortlessly, all without her management. Victor Tilling, a friend who witnessed her transformation, had walked a similar journey. Where once he micromanaged every aspect of his business and family, he now practiced blessing instead of controlling. He discovered that when he replaced strategic interference with heartfelt appreciation, opportunities emerged more gracefully than he could have engineered. The spiritual teaching crystallized. Divine intelligence operates with supreme confidence. Your role is not to force outcomes, but to trust the intrinsic wisdom of unfolding events. Serenity emerges when you recognize that the universe is infinitely more intelligent than your limited perspective. This is not passive resignation, but active trust. It requires a profound shift from seeing yourself as the sole architect of your destiny to understanding yourself as a co-creator in partnership with something far more expansive. Interpretation reveals that true power lies in recognition of universal competence. When you bless instead of fix, when you appreciate instead of manipulate, you align with a more profound intelligence. Your words become invocations of harmony rather than desperate attempts to control. The divine does not require your constant correction. It responds to your vibration of trust, your willingness to see perfection even when circumstances appear chaotic. Surrender is not weakness. It is the most sophisticated form of spiritual strength. Practice repeating to yourself that all is guided, resting your words in calm acceptance until surrender feels like strength's most elegant form. Chapter 36. The Infinite Conversation continues. In the quiet corners of his study, Amos Brackett discovered a language beyond words, a conversation that transcended ink and paper. Each morning he would sit at his weathered oak desk, pen in hand, and write to the universe as if corresponding with an intimate friend. These were not mere letters, but bridges between the seen and unseen, between human longing and divine response. His first letters were tentative, filled with requests and uncertainties. But as time passed, Amos learned that true communication was not about demanding, but about listening. Each letter became a sacred utterance, a gentle invitation for divine guidance to weave through the tapestry of his existence. Helene Carling walked a similar path, her practice more spontaneous, yet equally profound. She would stand by her window, gazing at the morning light, and speak gratitude into the open air. "Thank you," she would whisper, her words carried on gentle breezes, "for this moment, for this breath, for the mystery that surrounds me." And the universe listened, not with human ears, but with the intricate language of synchronicity. An unexpected phone call would arrive, solving a problem she had barely articulated. A chance encounter would reveal an opportunity she had only dreamed about. These were not coincidences, but conversations, delicate responses to her open-hearted communication. The teaching crystallized a fundamental truth. Communication with the divine never truly ends. It simply transforms. What begins as a desperate plea becomes a confident dialogue, then evolves into a seamless dance of mutual understanding. Your life itself becomes the letter, each moment a sentence, each experience a paragraph in an ongoing sacred correspondence. You are not separate from this dialogue. Every emotion you feel, every event that unfolds, carries a message. The universe speaks through the language of experience, whispering its wisdom through the subtle rhythms of your daily existence. Practice acknowledging each event or emotion as divine response, speaking partnership aloud until you live inside continuous, sacred conversation. Every audiobook on this channel is a doorway, But the full map of the metaphysical laws lies beyond what I can reveal in any single video. That map is shared privately inside our free newsletter, The Hidden Collection. Join now and receive a free copy of the Kybalion, the original text that first revealed these metaphysical laws to humanity. Limited time only. Conclusion. As you stand at the threshold of this journey, you recognize that every word spoken has been a sacred covenant between your inner divinity and the universe waiting to respond. Your voice is no longer a whisper of uncertainty, but a resonant declaration of divine presence. When you speak now, you understand that each syllable is a creative breath, each thought a living prayer that shapes reality around you. The path you have traversed through these teachings reveals a profound truth. You are not separate from the creative force of existence, but its very expression. Your internal dialogue is the language of creation itself, gentle, certain, and always aligned with abundance. No longer do you approach life as a supplicant, but as a co-creator, whose words carry the weight of divine intention. Every chapter has been a mirror, reflecting back the power inherent in your consciousness. You have learned that anxiety is merely a misaligned conversation, and authorship is your true nature. When you say, "I am," you now understand that you're not just describing a momentary state, but invoking the infinite potential within you. Your voice has become a bridge between the unseen and the seen, translating the language of spirit into the tangible rhythms of daily life. Each word you speak is a brushstroke of consciousness, painting your reality with the colors of possibility, grace, and unlimited potential. As you continue forward, you carry with you the most transformative understanding. You are the divine speaking through human form, creating, blessing, and manifesting with every breath.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.